Hey guys, welcome back to Phoenix Wright, Justice for All. I am here with Katie.
Hello.
I was just sitting there like, I didn't say Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, and then I'm like, who gives a shit? It's Phoenix Wright. You all know this by now. So
Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Justice for All. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Justice for All. So the cat is officially out of the bag. Har har. It's funny because he has a cat. On guard is the villain. He's the big bad of this game.
He's the douche.
He's not only he's not only the douche behind the crime, but he's like the douche of the game, essentially. He's the big bad. So yippee skippy, we are defending a guilty as shit man who hired a very baller assassin. And Nick is facing a very big moral dilemma. So let's see what happens on this, the final day in court. We will not be finishing it this session. We'll be finishing it next session. But regardless, let us see what happens on this, the final day in court. Oh my god, I saw port 4-2 and I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw him turn about Big Top. I panicked for a brief second. I was like, I know I
made
saved.
sure you saved.
I
made sure.
And I know I saved. So that's the thing. And so I was like, what the hell?
How'd I get into this mess?
That's far enough. You can't run forever, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
What have I done wrong?
I cannot allow you to go on like this.
Huh? I'm just a simple defense attorney.
The badger has spoken. Silence! You are no longer worthy of your title.
I've had this dream before, someplace, some time ago. As if this day was written into my destiny. This day I'll stand in court as a lawyer. To prove a killer innocent.
Oh, one thing I didn't write down. The stage play has that nightmare sequence with Von Karma instead, and it was actually pretty awesome. Like Manfred Von Karma, not Franzi. But you and I were like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Hello, this is Phoenix Wright.
You don't look so well, dude. You're gonna prove me not guilty today, right? If you please, Mr. Lawyer. Remember, it's not just me. Your precious friend's life is riding on today's verdict, too. Now listen up. You'd better get on guard a guilty sentence, okay? If you get that creepy slime bag and not guilty, I'll never forgive you, ever.
Maya. Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix. But Mia. Maya. How's Maya? I don't know. You don't know? She hasn't tried to channel me since yesterday. Mia, what? What am I supposed to do? Well, like I said, For a lawyer, the worst of the times are when you have to force your biggest smiles. But you can't give up. There's still some hope left. Stop it, please. There's nothing left. Not here, not anywhere. Is that a person on guard again? Will you leave me alone? Look, don't call me anymore. I mean it.
You're really mean, pal.
Gumshoe! I'm really, really sorry. Where are you?
They let me join the investigation team, and we're chasing after the killer, pal.
Huh? Then you have some sort of lead?
Sorry, but right now we've got 0 leads on the guy. But we're not gonna give up.
Gumshoe.
Until the trial is over, until the verdict is handed down, we're gonna do everything we can and find a killer. If we can get Maya out, then you can get on guard the guilty verdict he deserves, pal.
That's true. I could do that if they find Maya first.
You got that? So you have to do whatever you can to make the trial last longer.
I have to make the trial last longer?
If you go at Mr. Edgeworth with everything you've got, then you two can draw it out.
Oh, now I get it.
I believe in you, pal. You and Mr. Edgeworth can do it. So, believe in us. We're gonna give it all we've got, just like you.
Got it. Thanks, Gumshoe. Hey, Phoenix. You understand now, don't you? You have something money will never be able to buy. Friendship. It's the strongest weapon in the world, and you have it in abundance. Yeah. Looks like we're coming to the end. I have to make this trial last as long as I can. Gumshoe will come through, I know it.
The court is now in session for the trial of Matt on guard.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor. And now, as I recall, we concluded yesterday's session with a big mystery on our hands. The mystery being exactly what was Miss Adrian Andrews' role in this murder? That is to say, is she really connected to the crime itself? Mr. Edgeworth, if you would please inform the court of today's proceedings. Adrian Andrews. She forged evidence that threw suspicion onto Mr. On Guard, and then proceeded to escape the crime scene by wearing a nickel samurai costume. The guilt of these actions are those from which she cannot escape. Then you are saying that she is guilty after all? I'm not finished, Your Honor. Miss Andrews has nothing to do with committing the actual murder. I would like to direct the court's attention to this card. What is that? It looks like a shell. This is the calling card of a certain assassin. Assassin, you say? Yes, Juan Corrida was killed by a professional assassin. And the person who hired the assassin, his client, so to speak, is Matt on Guard. What a surprising turn of events. I would think it's become commonplace by now, Your Honor.
I know what's going on this time. So I know that everything Edgeworth has said is true. But we still have to hold out for as long as we can. At least until Maya is safe and sound. I wonder how the trial will turn out today.
Now then, please call your first witness, Mr. Edgeworth. The prosecution calls the defendant's mentor, Mr. Will Powers, to the stand. And now then, witness, your name and occupation, please.
Okay. I'm, Will Powers. I'm a poor, underpaid acting star.
And what is your relation to the defendant?
Well, I guess I'm sort of his lousy mentor, and to him, in a way, yeah.
Mr. Powers, please, you don't need to put yourself down so much.
Oh, sorry. Well, but I'm just kind of a nothing sort of guy.
On the night of the murder, you visited the defendant's room. Is this correct?
Yes. I didn't know that. But you know. I didn't actually get to see Matt when I went.
All you need to do is answer what you're asked. Now then, I would like you to please testify about when you went to Mr. Onguard's room.
Okay, sure.
Notice how Miles is being actually very cordial and super nice to Will Powers?
Nerd!
The man who plays the Steel Samurai?
Nerd!
Also, there's a courtroom kitty. She's bothering the judge.
Meow meow.
Yes, hello, little cat. Mr. Wright, do you bring cats into the courtroom? Is that just your thing?
No, Your Honor. I don't own cats.
Well, no, I didn't personally think this was your cat, but, I mean, they seem to flock wherever you are.
I think it might be my assistant's thing. Phoenix.
Is it his Pearlie's body? That's fantastic. Pearl's a Disney princess, confirmed.
After the award ceremony, I went by myself to Matt's room. Matt was standing there in front of his room, still in his nickel samurai costume. He was talking with someone. At first, I thought it was the bellboy. I watched the two of them for a while, then I gave up and went back. I had guests with me that night, so I couldn't make them wait for me.
And nothing sounds out of place in Mr. Powers' testimony.
And talking with the bellboy is no big deal.
If one assumes that the person Mr. Onguard was speaking with was an ordinary bellboy. What are you implying? Well, Mr. Wright, let's have your cross-examination, shall we?
Looks like we're in another sticky situation.
Huh?
A trap. Can't you smell it, Phoenix? But for us to find out more, we're going to have to charge head first, right?
God damn it, Edgeworth, we just made up last night.
Right, did you not receive a call?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Yes.
Jerk.
Aw, no venom. This is Miles's love language. Courtroom bullshit.
Being a complete and utter jackass.
In court, yes.
Yeah. The defendant's room. Why did you go there? Well, I'm his mentor. I'm a big brother, sort of, and I wanted to say congrats.
What's wrong? Why did you stop?
Mr. Wright. What is it? You're gonna try and trick me into a corner, aren't you? Huh? I know I'm just a poor underpaid acting star, but I'm not the killer. No one said you were, Mr. Powers. No, please, don't trick me.
Poor Will. Me thinks someone's been following Nick's cases.
I know. Every time you do your lawyer thing, the witness suddenly turns into the bad guy. Every time?
Witness. I will personally talk to the defense at a later time. So for now, please kindly cooperate and continue with your testimony.
Sorry.
So, you went to the defendant's room, and then?
Hey! Wait a minute. When and how did I suddenly turn into the bad guy here?
I didn't say you were, I just simply said I would speak to you afterwards.
Are you sure that was Matt on guard? Yeah, I'm sure. He wasn't wearing the Nickel Samurai mask then. If that's the case, then he really couldn't be mistaken.
And? What was the defendant doing, standing in front of his own room?
At first. What do you mean by that? Well, he was in a bellboyish uniform and he had a bottle of juice on a tray. Sounds like an ordinary bellboy to me. Yeah, but... I didn't think he was a normal bellboy. And why was that? Why did I think that, Mr. Wright? How am I supposed to know? Sorry, but I can't remember right now. Sorry. I guess I'm gonna have to be patient on this one. You saw the two of them, the bellboy and the defendant, together, correct? Yeah, the bellboy was, wanted to say congrats. Now, while you were watching the two of them, did you notice anything strange? You know, I did feel something weird. I think it was because Matt, well, he gave the bellboy a tip. A tip? Well, that's a perfectly normal thing to do.
So, how long did you watch the two of them?
Not more than a minute or two, I think.
So now, you need to go back and press that third statement again.
At first, what do you mean by that?
Oh, okay, we've been through this.
Yeah. That's why I was just kind of like, you want me to read it?
I couldn't remember. My short-term memory, what that?
Hey, wait a second. Actually, Mr. Powers, only a few minutes ago you stated... You know, I did feel something weird. I think it was because Matt, well, he gave the bellboy a tip. Could it be that you felt something strange about the tip-giving incident itself? Yeah, that's it. You really know your job.
Mr. Edgeworth, Yes, Your Honor. This bellboy, he wasn't an ordinary one, was he? Perhaps we should let the witness tell us. Very well. Mr. Powers, please amend your testimony.
You mean about the bellboy, right? Matt gave the bellboy a tip. So he gave the bellboy a tip. What's so strange about that? Well, you see, Matt's not a poor penny pincher like me. I was trying to figure out how much it was because the tip really shocked me. How much it was? But that's when something even more surprising happened. The bellboy was putting the tip into his pocket. And that's when I got my first good look at the guy's face. I was really shocked.
I'm afraid I don't follow at all.
It sounds like Mr. Powers was surprised twice by this event. I wonder which of his shocked moments I should ask about.
Still the tip.
Yeah. The defendant is a huge star. He can afford to give generous tips. Wouldn't you agree? Sure. But giving that much was maybe a little too much, I think. A little too much?
Would you please clarify for the court about how much you would say the defendant gave to the bellboy?
Honestly, I don't know. I can't even begin to guess.
And why is that?
Because he gave the bellboy a really, really fat roll of cash. A roll of cash?
Look at Will at the stand just hunched over. Oh, well, how interesting. That certainly was a very generous tip, wasn't it? A very fat roll of cash. That can hardly be called a tip, Your Honor.
The judge is beginning to look awfully suspicious of us. Raise an objection. The defendant is a superstar! And it could have all been all singles. What kind of tip is typical fare for people like him? And it could have all been all singles.
Matt handing the killer, like, treat yourself to a strip club, brah.
Just a bunch of singles and fives.
Like, damn, Matt.
20 stuck in there somewhere.
These are my leftovers from last night, brah, when I went to the strip club. Some crazy wild bitches there, man. The killer is like, oh my god, I could give less of a fuck. $35? I'm not killing a man for $35. Give me the $35,000 we agreed on. And yeah, I'll do it. Objection! Are you saying that all superstars are super spenders? If I could receive large rolls of cash by simply bringing people things on trays, then why on earth would I stand around here prosecuting?
He's got a point. I don't even get paid, let alone rolls of cash for all my hard work. Except for Edgeworth did force money on me. And so did Lana.
Yes, we were paying you for your services. Right. As a defense attorney.
It's a strange concept since no one else does.
There's poor Will on the stand. He's like, I brought you to the event.
I didn't think I had to. I didn't realize I had to pay you. No, it's okay. It's okay, Mr. Powers. I did that because I wanted to. It's okay.
You making Will feel bad.
Maya wanted me to. But,
Yeah. Yeah. Maya wanted you to.
Oh.
So supposing that the roll of cash was not a tip, then what was it? A payment, Your Honor. Payment? Isn't it obvious? For the murder of Juan Corrida. And then the bellboy the witness saw. Yes, he was the assassin. Oh, take a shot. Oh,
Good job.
my whole mouth. Whew. Hold your horses now. Mr. Edgeworth, you don't have any proof of this, do you? Have I ever been unprepared to support my claims, Your Honor? I have here the card Shelley de Killer left at the scene of the crime. Shelley de Killer? He is the person that the police's special investigations team has been chasing for ages. I am certain that the person this witness saw was this very assassin, Shelley de Killer. Will? Will? Billy, there?
Really?
There we go. What's wrong, Mr. Powers?
No, nothing. Something just clicked in my head and I think I just figured something out.
Oh?
Actually, I saw that bellboy again later on that night. What?
Mr. Powers, please testify. Tell us what you saw.
Yes, sir, right away. This time, I was in the hallway because I had to go to the bathroom. And that's when that bellboy I saw earlier came out from the room. Of course, when I say room, I mean Juan Corrida's room. Now that I think about it, the bellboy did seem kinda out of place. Yeah, so he had to be the assassin. I'm sure of it. I mean...
Will, you saw him 3 times, actually, but alright. Because Will was there when Maya got the phone call, quote-unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That is all we need for now.
Huh? But I'm not done. There's still more.
Let us first establish that the bellboy was truly Mr. De Killer. Then we shall see. So the bellboy came out to the victim's room. And if that bellboy really was the assassin, then I think the answer is fairly obvious. That would be correct, Your Honor. Well, Mr. Wright, I believe it's your turn to entertain and make us laugh.
This is no laughing matter.
Mia's like, enough of your flirting shit. My sister.
Can't believe you, men.
Huffs the bisexual dead defense attorney.
I was gonna say something else, but I just went with men instead.
Oh, you gotta DM me what you were gonna say. Hold it!
And what time was it? You told me to DM you.
I know.
I did.
It's great.
Well, I don't remember.
But wasn't Mia the one who said when times get desperate, laugh? When they get
No.
desperate, smile.
Smile.
Yeah. But that's a good, that is a good, that's a good point. Calm down, chill out. Also, I love your username. That's fantastic.
The award ceremony ended around 8 p.m., right? And I went to Matt's room pretty soon after that. And then I came back. And then I went to the bathroom. So I guess maybe around 8-10 p.m. by that time?
You're not one for details, are you, Mr. Powers?
Sorry. I thought I could maybe catch Matt and say congrats. Are you sure it was the same bellboy? Yeah. And how could you tell? All the bellboys wear the same uniform, after all.
Nick, they had these things called faces. And hair.
They all look the same to me.
Yeah, that's why you didn't notice the stitches right down the center of D-Killer's face. I'm always trying to... I've been trying to figure out what the hell those are for years. They look like stitches. People have said they're scars?
No, I don't think they would be scars.
But it literally just looks like it's a zipper, you know? Like it's a, like when you zip up a zipper, that's what it reminds me of. So I'm like, I'm like, D-Killer, I love you. What is going on with your face, my dude?
He doesn't have to answer to any of that.
No, but it makes him more distinct. And that's like his whole thing is like when I first saw him playing this like way back in high school, I was like, oh wow, that dude looks, you know, I was like, oh wow, that dude's got like stitches like all up and down his fucking face. And then when we saw him as the butler John Doe again, I was like screaming at my screen. I was like, Nick! He's got a very distinct facial feature. And Nick points that shit out in court all the time. So I'm like, what is going on? I'll have to look at my art book and see if they say anything about D-Killer. Because that genuinely bothers me. Oh, okay. Thank you, Will. I'm just vibing with Will right now.
But you see, well, he had these stitches on his face. So, I'm sure it was the same guy that was talking with Matt.
Also, Nick, you recognize the other bellboy, the one that's now the manager. So which room did the bellboy come out of?
The victim's room, huh? Yeah. The one with all the really pretty flowers and teddy bears. It was one's room, alright. Words cannot describe how screwed I am.
Let's continue with the testimony, shall we?
So what exactly was so out of place about him?
Right. Why the insipid grin?
Maybe because I have no idea how damaging things, what damaging things he's going to say next. Well, the bellboy was empty-handed. Empty-handed? That bellboy was one of the room service people, right? But he wasn't pushing a cart, and he...
Will, we kind of lost you at the second half there.
He wasn't holding a tray either.
Okay.
Huh? You'd call that a little strange too, wouldn't you?
I agree that it is a bit strange, Mr. Powers.
But is it really that unusual for a bellboy to be empty-handed?
Not if they just finished delivering room service.
Ah. What should I do? Should I let Mr. Powers' testimony slide, or... Nah. Try and pull a fast one.
Alright, Nick.
There is something strange or unusual, or there is nothing strange or unusual about an empty-handed bellboy.
I mean, he's right.
But there really, really is. There really, really isn't.
If you two are done being school children, the bellboys are for room service, right? There is no reason for them to be empty-handed ever. Your Honor, I ask that the witness's previous statement be supplanted with this new one.
Edgeworth. Are you gonna do whatever you can to make the bellboy look suspicious?
Yes, it's my job. I see. Very well. This court recognizes and grants the prosecution's request. Mr. Powers, if you could amend your testimony, please.
Yes, sir.
Except it's really not that fucking strange, guys. In the long, long ago, I too traveled. And I too have received room service. And let me tell you, those people walked away empty-handed. They're all assassins. My God.
I thought it was kind of strange that the bellboy came out of the guest room empty-handed.
I mean, this is Phoenix Wright, so I mean, whatever, but it's just funny to me.
So you're saying that it's suspicious for him to be empty-handed?
Nick, meanwhile, is like, I will be the fucking... I will stand on this hill.
This is a hill I will die on. Yeah, really suspicious. I mean, when I first saw that bellboy... he was holding a tray in his hand. And there was a bottle of juice and a wine glass on it. Juice? What kind of juice was on it? I'm pretty sure it was tomato juice. If we could come up with some sort of reason to why he would come out empty-handed, some sort of proof, then I think we can dodge that, the bullet on this one for now. Proof, huh? Sounds like another job for the court record.
Yeah, it's very obvious. Your Honor. He was doing his fucking job. I mean, yes, he is the assassin, but like, dear God, bellboys do have jobs.
Mr. Powers. Yes? You're easily influenced by other people's words, aren't you? As soon as you heard that the bellboy might have been the killer, you got caught up in believing it must be true. But, isn't he really suspicious? He's got all those stitches, and... So, a baseball has stitches.
Nick.
Are you saying all baseballs are suspicious because they have stitches?
Right. Did you consume something illegal before you walked into this courtroom?
I am running on 3 hours of sleep for the past 72 hours. Don't question me. Well, there's also... I mean, what about him being empty-handed? I would like to ask the court to please look at, to take a look here.
This is, the crime scene.
There is a wine glass sitting next to Mr. Kurita's body. The liquid inside of this glass is tomato juice. And now, if you would look at what's on top of the table in the lower right corner here. Anyone can clearly see that it is a tray with a bottle of tomato juice on it.
Man, that crime scene had to smell fucking rank. I hate the smell of tomato juice, but I know it's strong.
Oh, yeah.
And having it sit out for days? Ugh. Oh, that had to be rancid.
It didn't sit out for days. They collected it as evidence.
No, Nick was able to see it like a day afterwards.
That's for game purposes, Danny.
It was sitting there for like a day. Some rancid ass shit. Some rancid. Alright, calm down, Ridley.
I will fucking slap you. The bellboy had just brought this to Mr. Kurita's room. He left the tray in the room, which is why he was left empty-handed, or why he was empty-handed when he left.
But that would mean that the bellboy had seen and left a dead body in the room.
Ah, but can you prove that Mr. Kurita was already dead at the time?
Mr. Edgeworth? Yes? I blame you for leading me down this route. I'm terribly sorry.
What is with him? Why is he laughing?
Witness, isn't there one more thing you would like to share with us?
Is there?
The bellboy was empty-handed, or should I say empty-handed. I recall you had something interesting to say about his hands.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot. Huh? What? The bellboy. He was wearing gloves. Gloves? Yeah. Pitch black leather ones. All the other bellboys didn't wear gloves like that, right?
Will, sweetie, honey, my favorite defendant. Why didn't you lead with that?
Because it's Will and he's a sweet man.
I love him so much. I can't even be angry at him for it. I'm just like, oh, boy, if you would have led with that. You sweet man. Black leather gloves. Why didn't you mention them earlier? I'm just vibing with the whole court today.
Sorry, it slipped my mind. Ugh. Boy, does this make the bellboy look really suspicious. Alright, gotta focus. I can't get lax here. So what if he had gloves? A lot of bellboys wear gloves. Come on, Mr. Wright. That bellboy was wearing black leather ones. So, a football is made of leather.
Oh, right, not again.
Are you saying that all footballs are suspicious because they're made of leather?
Ugh. But that man, he received a large roll of cash from the defendant. And then he was seen leaving the crime scene wearing black leather gloves. I don't think that even someone like myself can believe he was just another bellboy. It seems that we have finally come to an understanding. Now then, witness, please continue with the rest of your testimony.
The rest?
Oh, yes, please tell us more.
Okay.
Will's just happy to be here.
After leaving Juan's room, the bellboy went and knocked on Matt's door, just like that. He gave him something in the room. He gave something to the person inside the room. Then the old guy just left without even going into the room. After that, I went to the bathroom and then went back to my seat.
So the bellboy, after leaving the crime scene, next went to the defendant's room.
Yeah, I kind of saw all that by accident. Some accident? I'd say you saw too much. And all of it was suspicious to high heaven.
I think it's safe to say that we can no longer consider this bellboy to be normal. And now then, let's get started, shall we? Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Is that what you saw when you were busy spying? Excuse me? I may be a poor, underpaid action star, but even I wouldn't stoop to spying.
Well, I think the point is, where did you watch all this from, Mr. Powers?
Oh, from the door, from the bathroom with my left eye, in sort of a sneaky, I knew he was spying.
Oh, Mr. Powers, I was going to tell the defense to stop slandering you, but I believe you just slandered yourself.
I'm sorry.
It's quite all right, Mr. Powers. Your testimony is still invaluable.
Thank you.
Please, does it really matter if he was doing it over or underhandedly? What did the bellboy do next? That's all I care to know. Miles finally letting his inner fanboy out.
I said hold it. Okay. That's better.
Nick, it's not like he was going off on like a crazy train tangent.
What kind of statement is that? Please elaborate and give me a few more details. Oh, okay. I should probably ask him only one question at a time. So, who took this something off the bellboy's hand? Yeah, I can talk. Actually, I don't know. What do you mean? I'm sorry, but I only saw the person's arm.
Only an arm?
Then you're saying you didn't see the person's face? Yeah.
Well, it was Mr. On Guard's room, correct? So it could have only been Mr. On Guard himself, I'd say. And then, what did the bellboy do after that?
Oh, so after he gave the person inside the room the thing?
Right, do you ever get the sense of deja vu?
All the time. Oh, kind of nice.
Aw, Nick.
He gave something, Sorry, I completely just stumbled on my fucking words.
I couldn't even tell and he just started giggling.
He gave something to this person. Yeah. And what was this something? If I remembered what it was, I wouldn't be calling it a something, would I?
But this implies that something was removed from the scene of the crime. Are you sure you really can't remember, Mr. Powers?
I think it was something kinda small.
I would like to summarize the testimony up to this point, if you don't mind. When the bellboy left the crime scene, he immediately went to the defendant's room. There, he handed a small item of some sort to the person inside. As for the person who received the item, all you could see was the person's arm.
Yes. It was just like that.
Mr. Edgeworth, is this all really that important? Of course, Your Honor. I think this is of the utmost importance. This is when whatever was removed from the crime scene was handed over to the client. Mr. Powers, please try to remember what it was the bellboy handed off.
Well, let's see. I think it was... no.
If you remember, please add it to your testimony.
Yes, sir. If I saw it again, I'd say for sure, but I think it was some sort of wooden statue.
Oh. What?
Like this?
What was the point of that pregnant pause? Where did that objection come from? Well, speak up.
It was me, Your Honor.
What is it, Phoenix?
I have a feeling something bad is going to happen once I show this.
Mr. Wright, if you have something to say, please spit it out.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, Phoenix, deep breaths. Mr. Powers. The something you saw. Was it this item? Oh, hey, that's it. That's the something. Wow, Mr. Wright. You really figured it out.
I recall we found this at Matt on Guard's mansion. At the defendant's house? What does this mean? It's simple, Your Honor. Shelley the killer assassinated Juan Corrida in his room. And then he stole this wooden bear from the scene of the crime. Then, the bear being found at Mr. On Guard's mansion would mean... It goes without saying, Your Honor. Mr. Matt on Guard is the killer's client. Order! 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 I said order! Mr. Wright, this is a most unfortunate turn of events for you.
Yeah. Sorry, Mia.
No, it's all right. Your judgment was sound. Actually, I figured the bear would come up. If not now, then it would have later on. Even if you hadn't shown it to the court, I'm sure your friend Edgeworth would have.
I almost forgot that he knew about it too.
I think it's clear that there is no need for us to continue this trial.
I can't let this happen. I have to do something. There has to be something we've overlooked. Your Honor, a minute, please.
Yes, Mr. Wright?
There are still a few points left that we have not fully explored.
What are you trying to pull? Oh, well, we can't have that. All right, Mr. Wright, what questionable point would you like to explore further? Person who received the bear.
Leo.
There is one thing in Mr. Powers' testimony that is very unclear. And that is the identity of the person who received the bear. He gave it to the person inside the room. I'm sorry, but I only saw the person's arm. As long as we don't know who it was that took the bear, we can't be sure of... Huh?
Huh? So cute. What is it, Mr. Powers? If you're going to scream like that, then at least give us a good reason why.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Actually, so I remembered. I remembered who took the bear. What?
Really?
I mean, I only saw his arm. But, the... It was the Nickel Samurai's arm. I swear it. You've got to be kidding.
Are you sure of that, Mr. Powers?
Yeah, I'm sure it was the Nickel Samurai.
Order! Order! It looks like you've dug your own grave, yet again.
How many times is that today? I've lost count.
So the person who took in this little bear was the Nickel Samurai. And as we all know, Matt on guard is the Nickel Samurai. Thanks to the defense, we've made that all the clearer.
What am I supposed to do now? Mia, help!
You don't have time to act lost. You've got to find another angle to attack from. Hurry!
Now, I will bring this cross-examination to... Alright.
Your Honor!
Again, Mr. Wright, we've already removed any and all questionable areas of this testimony. It's about time you were removed from this court, Mr. Wright.
I have to find something. Even one more little point will do. There are still questions left unanswered.
What are you trying to pull again?
You ever get the sense of deja vu?
With you around all the time. Oh, well, we can't have that. Oh, wow. Mr. Wright, you didn't use the thing, did you?
No, I didn't,
What,
Your Honor.
What thing?
Anyway, let's continue.
No, right, what?
I don't have a time turner. What are you talking about?
A what?
It's a good thing he doesn't believe me.
No! There's Mia like, shut your mouth.
Phoenix, save your Harry Potter fanboying for later.
It's just a little fucking sandglass thing. It's not actually a time turner. The judge.
Oh no, it's actually a time turner. The Blue Badger is a sentient demon. This is absolutely a time turner.
That's true. Oh my god, thank you for just reminding me of that live action scene. Jesus H. Christ. What other questionable point would you like to explore further? The bear.
Yeah.
Well.
I think it's fairly obvious that the bear itself is very questionable.
The bear, Mr. Wright.
This was found at Mr. Ungard's mansion. However, Mr. Ungard was arrested at the hotel that night. Which means that since the murder occurred, he could not have had a chance to go home.
Oh.
I think Your Honor's already figured out what I'm trying to say. That it is not possible that it was Mr. Ungard who took this bear to his mansion.
Why, that's very true. We didn't consider that point, Mr. Wright. There was no way, time-wise, for the defendant to have taken this bear home.
Oh. Disaster averted, it looked.
You haven't gotten the best of me yet, Mr. Wright.
Huh?
I remember it clear as day. I remember what you muttered to yourself at Ungard's mansion. We have this area completely surrounded. There's no way for him to escape.
I can't believe it. That butler, all this time, he was the killer?
The killer and On Guard were working together, so to speak.
That's hearsay.
And the killer was hiding at On Guard Mansion as its butler. What a bold move. The bear figurine was brought back to On Guard Mansion by the killer himself. When it looked as if he was about to be arrested, On Guard had him do so. I assume because it would have been bad had the police found it during their investigation. It isn't hearsay if I'm simply proposing a theory, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, you've been quiet for a while now.
Isn't too much. Isn't there anything I can attack at all?
I think we've heard enough. We now know why this bear figurine was at the defendant's mansion, as well as who it was that received the bear from the assassin in his room. Everything has become very clear. The client who hired the assassin to commit the murder was Mr. Matt On Guard. I see no reason for this trial to continue, and therefore I will now hand down my verdict. Thank you, Your Honor, for your understanding. You see, Mr. Wright, you could not win against the truth, could you?
I knew it would turn out this way. After all, what Edgeworth has stated is the truth.
Any last objections, Mr. Wright?
Well, do I? What should I do? Raise an objection.
Yeah, we're going for time here.
There's only one way for me to drag this trial out. The only one trick I have left up my sleeve. Your Honor. Right now, we have two reasons to believe that the client is the, two reasons to believe my client is the assassin's client. Reason number one. He accepted the bear figurine from the assassin. Reason number two. That very same figurine was found at On Guard Mansion. However, it's possible this is all the work of a certain other person.
What are you saying?
What I'm saying is, it's possible a different person is the killer's real client.
The real client?
Yes.
Is this all you have? Now then, Mr. Wright, let's hear your theory. Who do you say is the killer's real client, and therefore the real murderer? This poor woman. Literally one of the episode titles is, "Get Adrian help, please." Like, in all capital letters.
Oh, man.
This poor woman.
Take that!
Adrian Andrews?
Yes. We already know that she has tried to frame Matt On Guard for the crime. By wearing a spare nickel samurai costume. Ugh. Then the nickel samurai's arm that I saw could very well have been Miss Andrews.
But what about Mr. On Guard?
If you would please recall yesterday's testimony. The defendant was taking a nap during the break period.
That's right. Then, finding this figure at Mr. On Guard's mansion...
It was a well-laid trap set by Miss Andrews.
Mr. Edgeworth, what is your opinion on this? I can't even begin to count the flaws in the defense's logic. Besides which, there is no evidence to support it. However, I can't fully discount its possibility either.
What is with this trial?
Come on, anyone can tell On Guard did it.
I can't believe the defense
defense would go so far to pin the guilt on someone else.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's not something petty, it's murder of all things.
This is to save Maya. This is to save Maya. Even if the whole world turns against me, this is one fight I can't give up on.
Order! 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 All disruptive parties will be forced to leave the courtroom. Your Honor. For the benefit of the defense, I'm willing to play along with his what-if game. His what-if game, Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution is prepared to challenge the defense's theory. Mr. Wright, even you must have thought it strange and wondered, why would the criminal want this little wooden bear?
He's right. The killer did specifically bring the bear on guard right away. Why do you ask? Is there something special about it?
Absolutely. And I'm sure that once the court knows its significance, the true killer's identity will become crystal clear. Your Honor, the prosecution calls upon a witness who will clear all doubts against Miss Andrews. And who would that be? It's quite simple, Your Honor. Miss Adrian Andrews herself. I see. Well then, court will take a short 10-minute recess. The prosecution will prepare its witness in that time. Yes, Your Honor. Oh, I knew it was a good idea to hold her hostage. Don't you agree, Mr. Lawyer? But I never thought in your desperation you'd try to pin the guilt onto Adrian.
Ugh. I swear this demon will pay.
Mr. Nick!
Pearls? Where's Mia?
I don't know. A really strong power suddenly called her away.
Really strong power.
Oh, Mr. Nick, your phone is...
It's from Gumshoe.
How's it going? Have you been hanging in there, pal?
Yeah, sort of. We just barely found something to hold, to latch onto.
Oh, that's good, pal.
And what about you? Anything yet?
Sorry.
Have you figured out where the killer and Maya are?
I got excited. We still don't have any leads, but...
What? We don't have any more time!
If we just had one, even a single clue would be really helpful.
I was only able to come this far because I kept thinking to myself, I've got to keep this trial going for Maya until Maya's been rescued. But have I run out of luck this time? Is all our hope for naught?
A tent.
Huh? Tent?
I could see a circus tent.
Mia!
It looks like Maya was unconscious until a few minutes ago. As soon as she woke up, she called for me.
So it was Maya that called you away?
She's locked in a dusty little room right now. But I could see a circus tent outside the window about 300 feet away.
Gumshoe. Is there a circus in town right now?
There's only one, pal. The very big circus.
Still...
Whatever. Maya's somewhere within 300-foot radius of the main tent.
What? Okay, hold on a sec, pal. Hey, draw a circle on that map, about a 300-foot radius from the main tent. Hurry!
And I could see a mailbox under the window, just outside.
Gumshoe, there's also a mailbox.
Okay, what else?
What else, Mia?
I'm sorry, but it was a very small window. I couldn't see anything else. It felt like it was an old office building. Maybe the 3rd floor or so?
I heard her! An old office building. Good stuff, pal. Man, these spirit channelers are awesome. Okay, just hang in there. Just a little longer, pal. Wish us luck.
Good luck.
I'll call you later, so don't let your battery die, okay, pal?
It's a Nokia. The battery's never going to die. Mia! Maya's not hurt, right?
She's in a pretty bad state, Phoenix. She's been starved.
Gumshoe, please hurry.
Looks like we're out of time. Are you all right, Phoenix?
Only a matter of time before Maya's rescue. I can do this. I have to make this trial last a little longer.
Mr. Lawyer, who's this babe you've got with you?
Shut your mouth.
Oh, whoa. Oh. Let me just slick my hair down. I'm totally ready to go back in.
God, I hate you.
The court will now reconvene. The killer, the man who murdered the victim, handed this to his client. From this, one obvious question arises. Why this particular item? I believe the answer to that question will provide us with the name of the real culprit. Now then, the prosecution calls the defendant's manager, Adrian Andrews, to the stand. Wright, do something about this cat in the courtroom. It is clawing at my leg.
I can't. What do you want me to do?
They seem to listen to you and your assistant.
Shoo, kitty. Shoo.
My poor cat. You're lucky she can't hear that. Oh, no, Auntie Katie wouldn't mean that. Sorry. She's just been lying next to my chair this whole time. She suddenly just got up and stretched.
What? 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 I'm busy.
Currently, the witness is accused of tampering and obstruction of justice. However, you have been called to the witness stand today to ascertain who exactly is guilty of murder.
I understand.
Very good. Now, have you ever seen this bear before, Miss Andrews?
Of course I have.
You've seen it before? That's right. It's only natural that the witness has. Miss Andrews, could you please enlighten the court to this bear's secrets?
All right.
Why does she?
Actually, this is an elaborate puzzle. If you know the correct order, it can be taken apart one piece at a time. At its center is a small cavity, with just enough room to store a small item. Because of its complexity, if you don't know the order, you can't open the bear. It really can't. You really can't tell that it's a small jewelry box just by looking at it.
So this figurine, it's a container of sorts, is it?
Yes, looks can be deceiving. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, this is superb craftsmanship, and this cat is scratching my chair. Oh, yes, I nearly forgot. You may begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright. I was distracted by the claws on my robe.
It looks like there really was something to that bear after all.
Hold it!
A puzzle?
That's right.
But it looks like an ordinary figurine.
True enough. To people who don't know, I'm sure they would never guess that it was a puzzle. So what kind of puzzle is this exactly?
Hold it.
So you can take it apart. And how would one go about doing that?
Well, you must first turn its tail to the right and then push it in.
Oh, yes, I see.
After that, the arms and legs are free to move and can be removed.
Oh, this is most interesting.
A boy and his new toy. It's like he's 5 all over again.
I love Audrey playing with the bear.
I know.
Oh, don't mind me. Go ahead and carry on. I'm wearing gloves. I'm not getting my fingerprints on this. It's fine.
I think he's lost it.
So, what did you find after you take the puzzle apart?
Hold it.
And how do you know about this?
I know I bought it.
Huh?
It was a souvenir for when a friend and I went to Switzerland.
Then this was a present from you?
That's right. It was a puzzle in the shape of a bear, so I thought it would be perfect for Juan.
So it was a present from Miss Andrews.
Witness, let's continue with your testimony.
Hold it.
So who exactly knew how to solve this puzzle?
Only the two of us, Juan and myself. It was a souvenir from Switzerland, as I just stated. So I doubt there are many people with the same bear in this country.
Adrian bringing the sass. But this looks like it can be easily broken. Especially if someone wanted to get at what's inside.
Well, it's a toy. It can never be the same again once it's been broken.
Hold it.
Who else knew that this bear is actually a small container or jewelry box?
I never told anyone. And as long as Juan never told anyone either, only the two of us knew.
The two of you, huh? Then, of course, that means Mr. Ungard didn't know, right? I think that's all I'm gonna get for now.
Figurine, a wooden puzzle with a hollow inside. Only Karita and Andrews know how to open it. Well, Mr. Wright, I think even you have come to realize that there is one very important fact that we have uncovered, and that is this. This bear is actually a jewelry box. Now that we have agreed to this point, there is only one logical question that can come next, and that is this. Why does this cat want so many pets? I mean, what is inside this box? What's inside? That's right. That's what we are going to find out next. Witness.
Yes.
You are the only one who can open this. Please.
There's a painful silence hanging in the courtroom. All eyes are on Miss Andrews now as she solves the puzzle and takes the bear apart.
I've opened it. Is this what you wanted?
What is that? It looks like a note. I don't think we need to guess at what this is. do we, Mr. Wright? It's the suicide note. The suicide note? The suicide note left by Juan Corrida's former manager, Celeste Impacts. Until now, no one knew of its whereabouts, but just as we suspected, it was hidden. Hidden by the victim, Juan Corrida himself. It seems Celeste Impacts had very beautiful handwriting, and she just as beautifully signed her own name on this document. This is most definitely the note she left right before she committed suicide. Order! Witness, did you know about this?
Yes, I did. I heard all about it from Juan. When I discovered his body, I looked for the bear. I wanted to destroy the note before it could become public. But I couldn't find it anywhere.
Because it had already been taken by the killer.
Everything is going at Mr. Edgeworth's pace. So now that the suicide note has been found, what's the next logical question?
What is written on the note?
That's right. At least that's what I would think.
And now then, I believe it is only appropriate the contents of this note be made known.
I can't stop you, can I?
I went through so much just to get my hands on it. And I was going to burn it for her sake.
I'm deeply sorry, but I can't allow you to persuade me to stop. Your Honor, if you could please read the contents of the note aloud. Very well.
The judge's voice rang loud and clear as in the deathly silent courtroom. In her note, Celeste Impacts left us a record of all that had happened to her. About being used and thrown away by Angard. About being engaged to Corrida and Angard's role in destroying that. And about how she decided in her despair to end it all.
And that's all Miss Impacts had to say. There is one thing I would like to say here. The prosecution has no interest in slandering Mr. Angard. Then, what? Our intention, Your Honor, is to establish a motive for murder. Isn't that correct, witness?
Yes. On the night of the murder, Juan was going to make the contents of the note public. After the post-ceremony show, he was going to hold a press conference.
My word. Matt Angard values, above all else, his refreshing like a spring breeze image. Which is why he had to stop this note from being made public. At any cost. Celeste's suicide note. Found inside the figurine, it tells of Angard's horrible misdeeds. It's Angard's fault that woman killed herself.
And this time, he even went as far to kill someone to stop it from revealing it.
How terrible! What a selfish person!
I guess there are slimeball lawyers out there who could defend that creeps, those creeps too.
There is no room for doubt here. Mr. DeKiller's client's goal was to obtain this suicide note. And the only person who— oh my goodness, would the gallery be quiet? And the only person who needed this note that badly is the defendant. Let's not forget that the bear was with the note inside was found at the defendant's house. I can't think. Oh, thank you, Your Honor. It seems that we have come to the truth at last. The defendant's motives were entirely selfish. He deserves no sympathy from anyone.
Ugh. How am I supposed to escape from this one?
Why the hesitation, Phoenix? Gumshoe hasn't called yet, so you know what you must do.
I know, I have to carry on and buy some more time. Okay, there are two deadly pieces of evidence. The figurine and the suicide note. Maybe, somehow, I can find a way out of the situation through one of those.
The gavel's already in the judge's hand, Phoenix. Hurry!
And the suicide note or the figurine? Which should I pursue?
The suicide note.
Objection!
Please wait, Your Honor.
Oh man, look at that lawyer.
He's still going at it?
It's like he doesn't care that he's trying to get a killer off the hook.
I think Your Honor believes that Madame Guard killed in order to obtain this note.
Yes, that is correct.
But that seems a little strange. In fact, I think there's a contradiction here. This note was hidden by Mr. Kurita until the night of the murder. If that is the case, I say that Madame Guard could not have known what was written on this note.
Oh, I didn't think of it that way.
Exactly. But I did think of it that way, and I thought it was rather strange. No one in their right mind would kill for a note without knowing what it said.
Order! 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 You make a valid point, Mr. Wright. Mr. Edgeworth, what is your opinion?
It was just a flash, but I think I did rather well on this one.
Unfortunately, I think he believes differently.
I believe a show of appreciation is in order. Huh? The defense seems to be in love with wishing more despair upon itself. I would like to direct the court's attention to this. What is that? It is a very small video camera, Your Honor. This type of camera is commonly used as a means of spying. Spying?
What the? I thought that spy camera was in my possession. Did he steal it from me when he drove me home? Bastard.
He didn't steal it from you. He just, put a hand on your leg.
You thought he had a thing for you, Nick. He was just trying to steal the camera.
Oh no. Nick, he's been flirting this whole time. Even now he can't read the goddamn room. Matt on guard and the victim both thought of the other as their biggest rival. They even went so far as to use this type of item to find each other's weaknesses. And the victim, Juan Corrida, was being spied on. His personal life was being watched by none other than Matt on guard. Order! Order! Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor.
You. Don't tell me you knew about your client's spying activities.
Well, sort of.
Sort of is not an acceptable answer, Mr. Wright. I see you are confused, Mr. Wright. You're probably thinking, but I have the camera that was in the stuffed bear's eye.
Huh?
But this camera that I have is not that same one. See, Nick, the hand on your leg was just a hand on your leg. Last night, I searched the victim's house on a hunch. Using this.
She's bug sweeper.
And by the way, Mr. Wright, the defendant's fingerprints were found on this camera. Matt on God's fingerprints were on there? Wow, Matt. Jesus Christ.
Well, Phoenix, it looks like those cameras were hidden all over the place, huh?
What am I supposed to say to that evidence?
I think this is the end. It's fairly obvious that Mr. On Guard learned of the suicide note through this. He was watching the victim all along.
He got me good this time. I don't have anything to counter that.
Hey, now what's that lawyer thinking?
Mommy, is that the man, the bad guy killer?
Shush, stop, don't look at him!
The way he's sweating is just so ew.
Nasty.
Phoenix,
Yes, Chief.
have you figured out what you're going to do next?
What I'm going to do next? Does running away like a frightened child work?
I know it seems like Mr. Edgeworth is very close to putting a lid on this case, but his eagerness to prove his point, he forgot one very important thing.
Well, what is it, Mia?
There is a piece of evidence that he really should investigate.
Something he should investigate.
I would really hate to see the good prosecutor get scolded for not remembering to look at the item that when he had the chance.
Why are you speaking riddles all of a sudden?
Because she knows you have the brain power, Nick. Alright, I think this time we finally understand everything. Well, Mr. Wright, you don't have any further objections, do you?
What is that piece of evidence that Mia's talking about? Is it the one that I was thinking about like 10 minutes ago? Because I think I jumped the gun. Did I figure it out? Did I figure out what it is that still needs to be looked at? Or should I just let it go? I have an objection, Your Honor.
That was about the weakest objection I've ever heard, Mr. Wright.
Objection!
Your Honor! The defense has no intent in letting this go so easily.
Ah, there we are. You are beginning
Better?
to sound desperate.
That's just your imagination, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, this is not like you at all.
Hmm?
In your eagerness to prove your point, you have forgotten one very important thing.
Hey, isn't that what I just said? Quit parroting me.
So, you're telling me that I forgot something.
You're so close, Mr. Edgeworth. But there's something you really should examine about this piece of evidence.
My badge.
My badge!
That is Miss Impact's suicide note, right?
Hmm? Who knows? I mean, sure, the suicide note was found inside this bear. But this bear was in my possession until a few moments ago. Which means... the handwriting on the suicide note has yet to be analyzed.
Oh!
So... as to whether this pivotal piece of evidence is really written by Miss Impacts or not... that has yet to be even remotely confirmed.
Mr. Wright, you can't seriously be suggesting...
Mr. Wright, you aren't saying that suicide note is a fake?
Miss Andrews. You were the one who tried to pin the murder on Mr. On Guard. Who's to say you didn't create a fake suicide note and put it in this bear?
How dare you?
Your Honor, the defense is indiscriminately accusing the witness again. There is no evidence linking the witness to the suicide note whatsoever.
Objection!
But if this is a fake, then the witness is the only person who could have made it.
What?
Recall the witness's testimony concerning this figurine. The only other person, other than the victim, who could solve the puzzle was the witness herself. Miss Andrews. You wrote this note, didn't you? You wrote it so you could use it to frame Matt on guard. I did no such thing.
Right. If you're going to pronounce this suicide note a fake, then show this court some evidence to support your theory.
Mr. Edgeworth, you were the one who presented the scrap of paper as evidence. That means the burden of proof lies with you, the prosecution.
No! That's enough. Mr. Edgeworth, can you confirm the handwriting on this suicide note? It is as the defense has stated. The handwriting has yet to be analyzed. If that's the case, it seems that yet again we have reached a point where a verdict is impossible. That's impossible!
This isn't good, Phoenix.
The judge is going to carry this trial over one more day. I don't think Maya will physically be able to make it another day.
I didn't want to have to do this, but I don't have a choice. I request that both the prosecution and defense further investigate. Handwriting analysis my butt. That's just the lawyer trying to buy more time.
A guard is guilty. Look, any idiot can tell you that.
I think we've reached the end of the line.
What does that sound?
Gumshoe. Hello, Gumshoe? What is with him? And what is with that sigh? Where's Maya? What happened to the killer?
He got away.
What?
I'm sorry, pal. I really am. I don't know what to say besides I'm sorry. I wish there was some way to make it up to you. I really do.
Anyway, what's going on?
We found his hideout, pal. But, the two of them were already gone.
This is terrible.
I'm gonna keep looking for them, pal. Don't you worry. I just need a little more time.
But...
Don't tell me we don't. We don't have any more.
Do you hear that? They're calling for his head.
Mr. Wright, I can't. For us to come this far and... Oh!
What is it?
Let me talk to Mr. Edgewood.
I can't do that.
Mr. Wright, would you please get a hold of yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm about to end today's proceedings. You may take your phone calls after.
Hold on, Your Honor. Edgeworth, catch!
Mr. Edgeworth! Please, you've got to buy us some more time. Court is in session. I'm sorry, Your Honor. You were saying? Mr. Wright, this is a court of law.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but...
I am reluctant to do this. However, it appears that I have no choice but to suspend proceedings until tomorrow.
This time, I really can't do anything.
The court is now adjourned for the day.
Objection!
Please wait, Your Honor.
Edgeworth.
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? I humbly request another 30 minutes of Your Honor's time. For what purpose? We can perform the necessary tests on this piece of evidence in that time. But can you really obtain your results in 30 minutes? I believe we can, Your Honor. But wouldn't it be better if we adjourn for today and then reconvene tomorrow? 30 minutes, please, Your Honor. That's all I am asking for.
Please, Your Honor.
Very well.
Huh?
At the prosecution's request, this court will now take a 30-minute recess. But be advised that I will not allow another recess today.
I'm not sure if this is helping or hurting us.
The court will now take its final recess of the day. Right. Well, what's going on with Maya's situation?
The killer. It looks like he got away again. 30 minutes. We can't find her in that time.
Ugh. Report. Ah! Is that Mr. Edgeworth? We don't have time. Just spit it out. Right.
That's my phone too.
I'll put it on speaker here. It looks like we just missed them, sir. But the killer left a few things behind by accident in his rush to get away. A few things?
We use any of them as evidence.
I thought you'd ask, pal.
Huh?
I've got the things he left with me right now and I'm on my way over.
Really?
That's odd. Any items like that are usually sent to the crime lab first. We don't have time to wait for those guys, sir. When those guys weren't looking, I swiped the stuff and ran. What? Well, I'm not a detective anymore, so I had to. I'm really sorry, sir, but I've got... I know, right? Fucking Gummy. Again with the MVP. I'm really sorry, sir, but I've got to put the law on hold for now.
Sounds bad. I hope he doesn't get into too much trouble over this. Fight the power.
I love that Nick is an attorney that's like, smash the system! With my hunk of junk car, I'd say I'd be there in about 20 minutes, sir. Don't worry, I'll be there. Wait for me. Alright, just get here in one piece. I'm on a mission and no one can stop me now, sir. No one. I'm pulling out all the stops and running every red light.
Items left by the murderer, huh? Maybe there's something amongst them that will be decisive enough to end this.
Hey, what's wrong? Detective Gumshoe, answer me. No one can stop me.
What happened?
It sounded like he had an accident. I'm guessing his cell phone broke as well.
What was he thinking? We've got to hurry and call for help.
But we have no idea where he is. His cell phone is broken and he wasn't driving a patrol car, so no radio either. Also, if we don't get to those items before they do, the police will take possession of them.
No, we can't let that happen.
Well, if there is a way we can find out where he is, then we stand a chance.
Why? Oh, why did Gumshoe have to go and get an accident now? Is there any way to find out exactly where he is at this moment?
Yes, there is.
Wait, that's right. There is a way.
What? How?
I'm sure we can find out where Detective Gumshoe is through this.
You know, this.
This woman. This.
You don't mean. Why are you bringing up Francisca at a time like... Oh, I see. I'll try to get in contact with her. The chances are slim, but she's all we have.
Francisca. Does she even want to help us? Edgeworth.
What is it?
I don't have any right to judge anyone ever again. I know my client is guilty. But what I'm doing now... I'm pitting the guilt onto someone totally innocent. And using the evidence to do so. It might be my turn to say defense attorney Phoenix Wright chooses death.
Right. It doesn't suit someone like you to cry useless tears. Whether you did your job well or not, that can only be seen after the verdict has been decided.
Verdict?
Is Prosecutor Edgeworth here? Yes, bailiff. There's a phone call for you, sir. They said it was extremely urgent. Probably finished with the handwriting analysis. I have to go take this call. In the meantime, think hard about what it is you must do. And I don't want to hear that out of you again.
Yeah.
Homestretch, baby!
Woohoo!
And this is a long one. Yeah, you were pulling today. I am pulling next time. Like, holy shit.
Enjoy.
I'm excited. At least I'm not doing Von Karma's voice again.
No, you're not.
So, yeah. Yeah. Shit's crazy.
It will continue to hit the fan.
It will continue to hit the fan, and then we will have, like I've been saying, an episode afterwards on... So we're going to finish this up on Friday. And we'll have an episode afterwards talking about how, our feelings on this game, respectively. Using sort of my bullet points as an outline, and then if there's anything extra you can think of within the 3 categories, feel free to chime in. Like anything I didn't bring up as well. So, and if not Friday, Saturday, if you don't follow me on Twitter, please do. I always post 5 minutes before the stream, or you can follow whatever, or just take a peek at my schedule. I tend to update that as soon as I get any news, and I try to keep the news about a couple hours before stream. So if anything goes wrong for some reason, that'll be posted a couple hours before 6 p.m. Eastern. So, and then I usually adjust the schedule on Twitch in a timely manner, so no one is left in the dark. For those of you on YouTube, you don't need to worry about any of that. You can just wait until the next day comes for the new episode to roll out. So, the next session will be the finale of Justice for All. I can't believe we're actually going to move on to the end of the trilogy already.
Oh, I mean, we're taking a break, but yes.
Well, yeah, we're taking a break. Yeah, I'm taking a break afterwards. But like, yeah. I mean, we started this in January.
Yeah, we're gonna be moving on to TNT.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we're going through all fucking 10 games, so this is, we're like a little bit of we will be a little bit of a third of the way over through the series once that's finished. And TNT is a long one.
Oh yeah.
But it's so tasty.
Oh yeah, it is definitely a good one.
Oh yeah, Trials and Tribulations. It's that or Game 5, and those two keep fighting for my favorite. I honestly can't pick. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, it really means the world to Katie and I. Yeah. We will see you guys next time. This has been Danny.
And Katie.
Signing off. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Take it easy.